Hello, my name is Crystal Petry. Welcome to the third season of the Crystal Petry podcast. On today's episode, we are going to talk about mental health, specifically OCD. So, if you are battling mental health or you have close family, close friends that are battling, this is the podcast for you. And here to educate myself and you about mental illness, but how to work through that, we have Daniel Cole. So, welcome to the podcast, Daniel. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on and talk about such a emotional and vulnerable topic, at least I would say anyway. So Daniel Cole, where in the world are you?
I am in Toronto, Canada.
Excellent, excellent.
In
I
the
just
heart
want
of
to
it.
say,
Yeah, right in the middle of it, Midtown.
perfect. I
Young and
just want to
Stewart, if
say,
anyone
Daniel,
familiar with that area.
I'm sure because I have viewers and listeners from Canada.
Cool.
Yes, so I'm sure they at least know where Toronto is. But you are my second international podcast guest. So I want to thank you for helping my podcast become an international podcast.
Right on. Well, I've listened to a few episodes and I really like it. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so let's talk about Daniel, your personal journey
Hmm.
with mental health. Can you share a little bit about your personal journey with OCD and how it has impacted your life? But also explain to us what the acronym OCD means. I want to make sure that my audience is fully educated on this topic.
Okay, so OCD means obsessive compulsive disorder. And a lot of times people just think that it's the hand washing and the checking, but there's something called pure OCD, which has more to do with intrusive thinking. And a lot of people don't know that, and a lot of therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists don't know what pure OCD is. So pure OCD, it all goes on in your head. All the doubt and the checking and the intrusive thinking, it's all in your head, and no one can see it. And you're not, turning light switches off or turning ovens off or washing hands. You're doubting yourself, and you're checking if you're going to act on whatever the thought is. So pure OCD under the umbrellas sexual thoughts, harm, um, religious, morality. There's a lot of very interesting ones. My, I'll get to my site, but my personal journey was started when I was probably 14, if not younger, and I started having intrusive thinking about whether I was gay,
Okay.
and it went on and on and on. I didn't know what it was. I saw therapists, and they just called it anxiety, intrusive thinking. No one actually labeled it as OCD. And then it wasn't until I was 25. So I was really suffering in silence for quite some
That
time.
was a long time.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I was open with my parents and my sister, and in talking to therapists about it, like I'm having these thoughts whether I'm gay or not, and I don't know, what it is and how to stop them. And um, anyways, my dad spoke to uh, my uncle's brother about this, and he said, "Oh, he has OCD. He should read a book called Brain Lock." And I read this book called Brain Lock by Jeffrey Schwartz, and it was finally like, that's what I have. And I'm 37 now, and so from 25 to 37, I've worked on tools. I've worked on, understanding it more. And when I was, let's say, okay, so that was 2012. So in 2014, 2015, I started going to peer support. My mom found that for me, an OCD peer support group in downtown Toronto, and I loved it. Um, Eventually, I couldn't go because I played hockey on the same nights, and yeah, so I had the idea, I should make a site where people can have peer support wherever they are, and this is before COVID, right? And the whole telehealth. Um, I started Pay What You Can peer support in 2020, May 2020, and we have 600 people signing up a month now, which is great, but I want that to be higher. We have 3 OCD groups. We have ADHD, anxiety, autism, bipolar, eating disorders, depression, trauma, grief, LGBT, relationships, women's group. So we got about 20, 25 groups. We have 20, 25 wonderful moderators who do it out of the goodness of their heart. People pay. I basically give them everything that people pay. I still haven't made money on this, and if I never do, that would be okay too. And yeah, so the OCD groups, we have one Friday night, we have one Sunday, and we have one Monday midday. They're fascinating because people are like having these all kinds of different intrusive thoughts, and we really are there for one another. So that's
I want to make sure before I go to my next question, Daniel, that people were able to get that website, especially people that are battling as you did for so many years. The website is Pay As You Go.
No. Pay What You Can.
Pay What You Can. I apologize.
Support.com.
Okay, repeat that again for me.
Yeah, Pay What You Can, peersupport.com.
Okay, and it's all spelled out one word.
Correct.
Okay, excellent. Go back a little bit, Daniel. When you were talking about your journey, I think that it's so amazing and such a blessing that you had parents, you had family members that supported you during this journey, that you are able to be open and honest with them about your sexuality, but also about the thoughts that you were thinking, even though they didn't have a word for it, they personally couldn't understand it. They were so supportive of you. Speak to how that helped in your mental health journey.
I think that was everything. I mean, I'm so lucky to have such, supportive, and my parents are everything to me, and my sister. So it was huge, and they didn't know what was going on with me either, right? And it's like my father was the one who spoke to my uncle's brother. I consider this guy kind of like an uncle.
Mm-hmm.
And because they were all trying to help me, right? It was all kind of a mystery. It was a family mystery, right? Like, what's going on with Daniel? So it's been a long time, but I've come a long way. The thoughts are a lot quieter now. I have a couple mantras that kind of work for me. Like, it's the fear of losing control. That's what OCD is at the heart of it. It's your fear of losing control of yourself and doing something you don't want to do. A parent will have a newborn child, and they'll have harm OCD, because that is the furthest thing of what they want to do, is hurt their child.
Right.
And so that's how it sort of manifests itself with I'm afraid of losing control of myself and doing the utmost worst thing as a mother, or whatever. So
what are some of the mantras that you use that help you, if you can share?
Like, fear of losing control is the big one for me now.
Okay.
I'll take a deep breath. I'll say, let the thoughts pass, let the darkness clear for the light. And then, like, you could see how meditation and certain things kind of fit into this, because it's like it's all thoughts. So
right,
let the thoughts pass. Emotions too, like learning that, okay, this emotion that I'm having now, it'll pass, and that's just a big realization that in that of itself.
I will be honest with you, Daniel. When we were speaking about initially, when we spoke about OCD, I really assumed that it was what I see in the movies and what I see on TV.
Yep.
With the like you said, the constant hand washing, or you have to touch the light pole 5 times before you can move past it. Just what Hollywood has educated me on. But again, I'm so
But in a movie, how are you supposed to depict somebody having all these thoughts in their head? It's, you know what I mean? But
Right.
you're right, like the movie As Good as It Gets with Jack Nicholson. He
Yes.
had OCD, right? But no, the people who come to our group, I would say 80% of them, it's all going on in their head. And it's tormenting is a big word we use. It's intrusive thinking. So,
I'm so glad
a lot
that,
of people were me at 14 to 25 in the
right.
dark, not knowing what's going on with them. So I really hope that, somebody listening today will will get the light bulb.
Yes, it will definitely be the aha moment because just like suffered, if I can use that word, for so many years, not being able to put a word to it or the language to what it was you were feeling. I
Right.
know that there's someone else out there that's dealing with the exact same thing. But when they hear your story and your journey, it will be the light bulb moment, the aha moment.
And that's
Daniel.
I called the
Uh-huh.
group on our site. It's OCD and intrusive thinking, and I did
Okay.
that on purpose, right? Because I want, or it's OCD and intrusive thoughts, um, because I want somebody to be like searching intrusive thoughts and then connecting that, oh, this is OCD. I never knew that this is what I had. And then once you get into this pure OCD, there's podcasts, there's tons of literature on it,
Mhm.
and there's peer support. So there's help.
Absolutely.
But the 90% of the battle is labeling it.
Yes. Yes. Daniel, how did your mental health journey shape the person you are today?
I would say it's completely, totally who I am. It is, they are inseparable. It's made me more empathetic. It's made me, you know, I think I was a big reader because I was growing up, because I was trying to figure this all out.
Hmm.
And that made me, a more intellectual person. So, you can't escape one without the other. And maybe I did get OCD because I was such a thinker and such a
Okay.
doubter.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about the challenges? What are some of the biggest challenges you faced with your mental health journey with OCD?
I mean, it's ongoing. Like, I still deal with it. I'll still deal with, like, quote unquote an OCD episode, and just try to get myself out of that, you know, Chinese finger trap, if you will.
Hmm.
So you get better at it. You get better at managing it. Um, what's happening is your brain is lighting up with all kinds of things. If you did an fMRI um, test, your brain is lighting up when you have OCD, and then what you're trying to do is you're trying to cool it down, trying to stop all the activity. So
Okay.
I've gotten better at that. I would say my brain is less on on fire, heated up, lit up.
What is an fMRI
Well,
test?
I think I just use that like it's an MRI test, but it's
Okay.
frequency. What's it stand for? I'll look it up. And just in that book, Brain Lock, like he takes examples of before they used his 4-step strategy,
Hmm.
like the before and after functional magnetic resonance imaging, and
Okay.
it just shows the brain and the lighting up of the brain. So before, it was really lit up, and then after it
Mhm.
was a lot less lit up. In other words, the person was, you know, less tormented, less affected.
How do you handle your OCD in high stressful environments, in high stressful situations?
It's a good question, because then that's often a um, correlation, right? More stress, more OCD. So I don't know. You just gotta, like any normal person too. How do they handle stress? Like deep breaths. This thought will pass. Um, the mantras that I say to myself,
Mhm.
talking to somebody, going for a walk, exercising. Um, just got to get through it.
Let's talk about your platform, which I think is absolutely amazing because because of your mental health journey. And
Mhm.
walk us through this. I'm going to summarize it, but I want you to walk us through this. Because of your mental health journey, you created this safe space
Yeah.
for other people to come and get help. So, talk to us about this website. Give us the address again slowly so that my listeners can make sure and grasp that. And then just kind of walk us through step by step how you went from having your mental health struggles to creating a platform for other people.
So it's paywhatyoucan.peersupport.com. And it's not my main job. It's my passion project. I'm actually an insurance broker. And I, you know, benefited so much from peer support because it's you go and people understand you and they don't and they're like, oh, I'm going through that too, or it's nice to know I'm not alone. And just that alone is such a powerful experience and a therapeutic experience. And I was really disappointed with the therapy community, the therapist community, because they weren't. For 6 years I went to a therapist from 17 to 23, and then I saw another guy, and they never knew what OCD was. So I'm, listen, I think therapy is an important thing, but I
Mhm.
think peer support is important as well and complements it. And I created this because of how it benefited me. I looked around that room in downtown Toronto and I said, there's a lot of people here who can't make it or who are far away or who don't know about this or whatever. And I think that there's, as my business person mind too, I'm thinking, well, there's maybe an opportunity here, a
Mhm.
business opportunity here. So that's where it came from. And then, we started with 9 groups and we're up to 20, and we've started some and taken some down. And, I'm always open to adding new groups and just trying to help people. And, when somebody says, you saved my life, or this is saving my life, or whatever, it's like, I don't need to get paid. That's
Hmm.
reward enough.
I have been on your site, Daniel, which I've told you this before. I've been on your site, and the testimonies
Yeah,
on your site are just tear jerkers
sure. Yeah, we have a lot.
because
I got to update those because we got a lot of new ones too. So yeah,
yeah, I mean, they are just tear jerkers in how people speak about your platform and the service that you offer completely change their life and how they think about themselves and how they feel about themselves. It is absolutely amazing what you do. So speak to me about the name, Pay What You Can.
yeah. I mean, it is what it says it is. And
Hmm.
that was the whole idea, right? We just wanted to get people. That peer support group I went to in downtown Toronto was free, and I always thought,
Okay.
I would have given $20 after this. So I just wanted people to come. I wanted to make it free because a lot of times people can't afford therapy. So that was kind of the Groupon of this is kind of like the Groupon of therapy. I think I was thinking. I remember too. I went to when I backpacked Europe with my buddies in 2009. There were free group tours, and at the end of the group tour, you tip the tour guide, and everyone
Right.
tipped. And I just thought that's a brilliant way to kind of get a lot of people on the tour, and then everyone will pay. If you like, I throughout this, people are always like, "Why don't you charge people? And why don't you charge them a minimum?" I go, because then our groups are going to go from 10 people to 2 people, right? And we want more people in the groups.
Right,
And
right.
then people pay. And is everyone paying? No, but I've accepted that. The moderators have accepted that. But sometimes people do. I just sent one of the moderators, $80 for her
Mhm.
last week's group. Pretty good.
Pretty good. Absolutely. Did you have any struggles or any challenges, Daniel, with the conception of this and building this, dealing with your own mental health issues and dealing with OCD?
Actually, I think it's therapy for me. it's helping other people that, helps. When I see somebody signing up for OCD, I go, oh, there's another one. There's another person like me. So no, I think it was natural.
Oh, do you see or have you envisioned? I know you said you have a business mind. Do you see the evolution of this platform growing in
Yeah,
any direction? And what are you thinking?
I would love for us to get to 1,000 signups a month, 10,000 signups a month. Sure. I mean, that's kind of my focus. Just increase the monthly signups every month, and we're doing it with no budget, right? No
Mhm.
marketing. Um, we have Google Ads, and if you're a nonprofit, Google um, will give you free Google Ads. It's called Google Grants. So that's a nice thing. They're not completely evil, um, and that's really helped us get the word out and
Okay.
have people find us.
Excellent,
I'm sure
excellent.
that's how I got to you, right? Through our connections. Somebody found us
Yes.
on Google.
Yes, that's absolutely how we connected. But I this will not be the last time we connect, Daniel. This will definitely not be the last time. So why do you think it's important? And I want to talk about the awareness and the advocacy because whenever you were initially going through this, there was no advocacy. I'm not going to say no, but maybe very little advocacy, very little awareness about what it was that you were dealing with. Why do you think it's important to talk openly about OCD and mental health?
Yeah, I mean, even the fact that I told you that what my theme was. A lot of times people will say, "Yes, I have OCD," but they won't tell you what their theme is because they're embarrassed, because they're
Yes.
ashamed, and they fear stigmatization, right?
Hmm.
And I remember writing in a journal in, you know, 2011, 20, and I never could write the word gay, right? I could never, like, I was afraid of that word. I would just say my thoughts are really bothering, and like now the fact that I can tell you what the thought is, it just means that I've overcome that stigma.
Grown.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and I think it's
absolutely.
important for somebody to say it, and
Hmm.
somebody to say this is the thoughts that I'm having, and maybe you're having, and maybe we're all having, and it's you're not the only one, right? And that's
Right.
kind of what the peer support is all about. It's we have some groups like the relationships group, and it's like marriage, spouse, children, parents, friends, whatever. And then, but people can relate even though they're fighting with having different relationship problems, and
Hmm.
so that's the power of peer support.
Do you think that people are talking openly enough about mental health and about OCD and the challenges that come along with that?
Probably not, and I think that's okay. I mean, I think everyone's on their own journey and own timetable with
Hmm.
this kind of stuff. Sometimes people show up to the groups, they don't turn their camera on, they just want to listen. They don't want to share what their OCD is yet. They want to just kind of hear other people. And then
Right.
it's kind of cool. You can slowly kind of see them coming, and then now their camera's on. And then now they're kind of really opening up and telling us what. So it's like trying to get a raccoon to eat out of your hand. You have to be you have to be very patient.
Very patient, but you also are able to see the growth, like that person's growth
Yeah.
from not having the cameras on to having the camera on to that's yeah, that's amazing. What advice would you give someone that is struggling with mental health right now? Of course, obviously, go to your website, become a member of that community, but what other advice would you give that person?
Um, I would tell them to, yeah. I mean, for sure, come to our website, seek seek help, get help, open up. You know, but I think we're a good solution for a lot of people who maybe can't afford therapy,
Mhm.
can't get to therapy. So we're good for like people in rural communities, and we're good for people on low budget. Because we're free, and a lot of times people go, I can't pay. Can I still show up? And I go, of course you can,
Right.
right? And eventually that person will pay, but again, that's not what we're here for, you know. And I think a lot of the moderators, when I add them, I'm sort of trying to seek that out. I'm trying to sort of see, are they in it for the money, or are they in it to help people? And then
Right.
sometimes I can kind of discern that, right? And then,
Mhm.
okay, this person's a good fit. Their soul's in the right place. Their heart's in the right place.
Daniel, do you think that society is getting better at understanding mental health and wanting to understand mental health, or is there still a long way to go?
I think we're getting better. You know, even the word OCD didn't exist 20, 30 years ago. I mean, it did exist, but not the way it does now. Think about ADHD, think about autism. I mean,
Right.
there's a risk of over diagnosing. I've seen that too, of course, but better to overdiagnose than underdiagnose.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of people are starting to, be more comfortable with this kind of thing, of course, right? But then there are still, you know, small-minded, closed-minded, uneducated people who are, you know, but there's less and less of them, maybe.
What changes do you think we need to do to further help people dealing with mental health? You have the lived experience
Hmm.
on both sides of it. I feel like, on the side where there's challenges, there's little to no advocacy, little to no awareness about it, and this side where there's much more awareness, much more advocacy about mental health. What do you feel still needs to be changed or incorporated?
Well, yeah, that one I don't have an answer for that one.
Okay.
Let's skip that
We're
one.
going to skip that one. Okay, what about, or what are some common myths about OCD that you would like to educate us all on?
Yeah, well, I think you were the one, you said it at the beginning, right? What Hollywood kind of shows us what OCD
Yes.
is totally the tip of the iceberg. And there's so much more themes and thoughts and all kinds of different um, you know things that people are dealing with OCD. So the term pure OCD is very misunderstood. I think, yeah, the myth, like, it's not just checking, it's not just washing hands, it's a lot else.
Hmm. And I will be honest, my first introduction to OCD, and it's one of my favorite movies, was Rain Man.
Hmm. Yeah, well,
Was
he
my
didn't have OCD. He had oh, what was he? Rain Man. He was like
and
autistic, right? He was
right, but didn't he battle with OCD as well
yeah,
because he had to have
the
certain
water.
things,
Yes,
certain time, clothing?
yes, yes. With the there's a shower. Autistic savant is what they called Rain Man. So
Okay.
there's a lot of overlap. It's interesting that you kind of bring that up, because there's like, if you're, oftentimes people who are autistic will have OCD as well. Why
Okay.
that is, I don't know. It's probably something in the brain. Some, a psychiatrist could tell us that.
Absolutely. But yeah, so that was my first introduction. Again, talking about Hollywood and their depiction of it. That was
Yeah.
my first introduction to what OCD looked like, and maybe what it felt like was because of the movies.
Hmm.
You had a great support system with your family growing up. What would you tell and what advice would you give to family and friends that maybe have children or people in their lives that are dealing with that? How can they support them?
Just support them, and listen to them and be there for them. And oftentimes I'll yell at my dad, and I'm just trying to vent, and
Hmm.
he's providing solutions, and I'm like, I call him the solution man. Sometimes it's like, I'm not looking for a solution. I'm just looking to vent, right?
Okay.
And so just be there for them, and be the shoulder they can cry on. Be their ear, be their sounding board. It helps. It helps big time.
And it sounds so simple, but it's so powerful. It sounds so simple, but yet it's so powerful. Daniel, if you could go back to your younger self, what would you tell your younger self? What advice would you give your younger self as you are dealing with these challenges that right now we don't have the wording for, we don't have the vernacular for, we don't have the awareness about?
Hmm. Yeah, I would tell that 14-year-old you have OCD. I remember stumbling upon it when I was 18 myself, and,
Okay.
and being like, do I have this? And then I kind of just dusted it off, and I didn't. So I was close. Like I was close to kind of, you know, solving the crime. Like really, that's what OCD is. It goes back to our childhoods. Why this is our theme.
Hmm.
And I read something like when we're 7 years old, all our memories from 0 to 5 go into our subconscious. We don't remember them anymore. So
Okay.
why this is your fear? Why this is your theme? You can't really figure it out because it's back in your subconscious. So like I say with OCD, like we're detectives with amnesia.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and it's like you're really trying to solve and figure it out. So
Hmm.
I would give a hint to that 14-year-old.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you hope people that are listening, that are watching you right now, Daniel, what do you hope they take away from your story?
Yeah, I hope like I said, the light bulb goes off for them. That would be nice, right? Because I could have used that too a long time ago.
And as we get ready to wrap up, I have a couple more questions for you, Daniel. What is your intention in this space? What is your goal in this space?
I think just keep growing it. I think what scale it. So I think I've accomplished the goal of starting the site, helping people, and now it's just like let's help more people. Simple.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Now, at the beginning of the podcast, you let us know that you are in Canada, but I'm assuming that even people in America or other countries
Yeah.
can access this, correct?
Okay, so some of our moderators, we have Lydia. She's in Australia, which is very cool. She runs the OCD group once a month, and like it's Friday night and it's Saturday morning for her.
Mm-hmm.
We got people in the UK. We got somebody colleagues in South Africa. Yeah, all over. And then so those are the moderators, but the participants too. Sometimes we'll have people sign up from Europe and India and wherever. So that's really cool. It's international.
And how do you, and this is just me thinking as a person potentially that's going to sign up, how do you vet your moderators? Because that's very important. The privacy is very important. How
Yeah,
do you go about that?
I vet them casually but
Okay.
seriously, right? And I kind of like, do you have experience running a group? If not, um, are you compassionate? Are you empathetic? Oftentimes, Lydia and Garen and Michael, their moderators, they were participants first, and I reached out to them and I sort of said, "Would you want to run a group?" Like, because I could sense it, I could tell that they would be good, I
Right.
could tell that they understood the soul of this.
Yes, yes. Okay, so my final question for you, Daniel, and again, I know I said it at the beginning of the podcast, but I definitely want to say it again at the end. Thank you so much for coming on my platform and just being open and being vulnerable, not just for yourself, but for other people, to help other people, to give them wording and to give them vernacular and awareness about what it is that they are challenged with, or maybe their children or friends are challenged with. So thank you so much for
Thank
this.
you for having me, and you're a special person too.
Thank
And
you.
yeah,
Thank you.
I'm very impressed. I think when I first met you, I said I was very impressed with you, and I love your podcast. So it's great to be on it.
Thank you very much. I feel like I need to put you on a commercial, Daniel. So my final question for you, who do you think would make a great guest on the podcast? But you have to help me get them on.
Yeah. Well, I think our Yelena Hatzikos in Long Island. She runs our depression group, and she is incredible. And she's has stage 4 breast cancer, and she's got two little boys. And she runs that group, and it's at 7 o'clock. And sometimes she'll write me at 10. We just finished.
Wow.
And
How long are the groups?
They're an hour, but she's staying on for 3 hours for these people. And she is just so impresses me and so inspires me, and just that she's giving her time to these people, given her circumstances. It's she's an angel. So, she is my choice.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Daniel. And I'm excited to have her on the podcast as well. I know she has an amazing story.
Yeah.
Yes. And to my audience, thank you so much for tuning in and watching. You can get Daniel's podcast and all of my other podcasts on YouTube Podcasts and Apple Podcasts. And remember, you always have time to listen and learn on the go.